What is an appropriate technology limit for a teenager or a kid?
No social media before 16, high school.
And there's some countries that have now outlawed social media for teenagers. So I think Australia.
Yeah, and there's a reason, because we have become engagement machines for their profits. Like dopamine is what makes us happy, like when someone gives us like positive attention. Oxytocin is what to bond with others. And now we have our phones and we can press a button and get that dopamine, oxytocin artificially 24/7. I mean, with drugs too, increasing your dopamine randomly, it's just making it worse. So you can see like a very similarities with like fake food, ultra processed foods, these artificial devices and drugs that we can all link it to. So yeah, I think spending less time on social media, only being on social media with a purpose.
Boys, this is such a special episode. We have 5 people in the podcast studio here today because the 4 of you co-wrote this book, The Teen Health Revolution, right?
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, so we have Abdullah, Zain, Emaad, and Qasim, right? So who's who? Tell me who's who.
So I'm Abdullah.
Yeah?
I'm Zain.
I'm Emaad.
And I'm Qasim.
Amazing. And the 4 of you have been doing a podcast for a long time, right? What was the name of your podcast?
The Holistic Kid Show.
The Holistic Kid Show. I listen to your podcast with my kids in the car all the time. And so it's so great for kids to hear from other kids what you guys are working on. And you wrote a book.
Yeah.
What made the book come to be? Who thought of the idea we should write a book?
So I think it really started during the pandemic when everyone was worried about their health.
Yeah.
So we started the Holistic Kids Show, our podcast, because we wanted to specifically inform the neglected kids. So we were learning, we were talking to we were talking to experts, New York Times bestselling authors, world-renowned experts, all these people about different tips that we can use for our health.
Right.
And we were learning as well as a lot of kids are learning.
Yeah.
But really right when I came to school, that's when I received a terrible death threat from my best friend.
What happened?
So he sent a death threat to me, and it made me so scared for my life. And that made me realize that, you know what, these teens today, youth today our brains are destroyed. We're constantly scrolling. Yeah. We have no purpose in life. We're so disconnected from each other. So then I realized that, you know what, this podcast, it can't just stay a podcast.
Yeah.
It needed to be a book. So a book that everyone could hold in their hands as a resource, every teen specifically.
Yeah, no, that's a crazy story. And you're right. I mean, I think in the beginning of the book, you say that it's an emergency right now to focus on this. And I agree. I think, we're living in a time period right now where teens and kids are exposed to stressors that they never had before. Definitely not when I was growing up, but even in the last couple of decades, the number of stressors has magnified, right? And so, and sure, you guys are feeling it, right? I mean, just that your best friend did something so horrible, like it's coming, it's like, it's real, right?
Yes.
Wow.
And this isn't actually just his story, or this is actually kids all around the world. This is what they're dealing with right now. And the reality is that if Zain's friend was being mindful about what his decisions were, if he was taking care of his mental health, if he was educating himself, that this wouldn't be the reality.
Right.
And the problem is that a lot of teens nowadays, we are just, going from class to class. We're not focusing on what we're putting into our mouths. We're not focusing on what we're educating ourselves with. We're just scrolling on, our phones. And the problem is that because of that, we're destroying ourselves and we're destroying our brains. And that's what we're trying to get to teens out there, because most teens don't know this stuff because adults aren't teaching us, especially schools aren't teaching us. And so we were like, if no one's doing anything about it, then we need to start to stand up and do something.
Yeah, take matters into your own hands, right?
Yes.
I love it. And then you two are not teens yet, though. But do you think this is important information even at your age?
Yes, definitely. Because people in my class are they already have phones and they're like 10 already.
They're 10 years old and they have phones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like also health isn't just like a one topic just only for teens. It's like a universal topic. No matter how old you are, you can still benefit from these simple tasks like putting your phone down away from when you're sleeping. It's a universal topic that everybody should know.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think the same health advice that adults use definitely should be using it at a younger age. But a lot of times, by the time you're doing it as an adult, you've already have a lot of things broken, right? Like your attention span is gone, your mental health is destroyed, you're metabolically unhealthy, and all these things start at a very, very young age. So I agree with you that it's an important topic right from the beginning of when you can start learning about it, right? And so a lot of kids probably are like, oh yeah, I'm fine. I don't need to hear about this. Like, why does it matter to me? Why does it matter to me, like at a young age, to, eat real food or worry about toxins? Like, you're so healthy right now, right? Why does it matter?
So when you no kid wants to be sick,
Right.
but when you get older, you're already gonna be sick. So then what are you gonna accomplish? What job are you gonna accomplish? What can you accomplish when you're sick?
And this is what our mom taught us when I was 13, now Qasim is 10.
Yeah.
And the reality is that what we realize as well is that, especially because these are our peers and classmates we're talking about. I know when we go to school and we're telling them about this stuff, actually a lot of them are like, oh, I didn't know that M&Ms has a carcinogen in them that basically leads to cancer. If I knew that, I wouldn't be putting that into my body.
Right.
And also a lot of teens, especially, we need to wake up and realize that if we don't do something about this now, it's going to affect our adulthood mentally, physically, emotionally, and even spiritually.
Yeah.
And I don't think any teen, at least I don't want to be sick in my adulthood, and I don't think most teens would want to be sick when they grow up. And I know a lot of teens, like we talk about, because that's the time when, college is coming up, trying to get our career set, figuring out our life. If we're sick, we're never going to be able to accomplish any of what we want.
Exactly.
We're just gonna, no teen wants to be sitting at home on their couch or laying in their bed because they can't get up, because they didn't take care of their health now.
Yeah.
And that's why we're not saying to start change later on. Don't start change tomorrow. Don't start change when I'm 19, when I'm 20, when I'm 21. Start change today, because that's how change happens.
Yep, exactly. And, to your point, like, who wants to grow up and not be productive, not have a great life? And it really now is so important to start in childhood, because that's when the problems start accumulating, for sure. So the book is called The Teen Health Revolution. And I love what you guys have did. You took the word revolution and you turned it into a set of guides for people. So I'd love to just touch on each one of these real quick, because I think, if you're a parent and you're listening to this, re-listen to this with your kids in the car or just at home, where have you, because obviously kids don't like to listen to their parents, but they will hear from other kids. But also, I really like how you put it together for people. So let's go through these. Is that okay with you?
Amazing. Yeah.
Okay. R, revolutionize the gut. What does that mean?
So the gut is where health starts. And that's why we specifically have it as the first one. That's why we have as R, the first word letter of the revolution, because your health is going to start in your gut. The reason why you're dealing with all these chronic issues is because of your inflamed gut. So when we say revolutionize your gut, we're saying that, we're going to start thinking about, we need to start really bringing the gut into the health topic so we can then transform the rest of our health aspects.
Yeah.
And plus, I know it's shocking, but actually the gut creates over 90% of neurotransmitters are created in the gut. And I know it's shocking to most people, but actually the gut and what you put into your body actually affects your mental health as well, and it affects your spiritual health and your emotional health, as well as your physical health. And so most people think, oh yeah, but how is what I'm going to eat, and it goes down to my stomach, affect here? That doesn't make any sense. When in reality, the gut is our second brain. And if we put, we interviewed someone on our podcast, he's very knowledgeable. He basically said, if you put junk in your body, then you're going to end up working like junk, and you're going to start thinking like junk, and it's going to come out as junk. So everything starts
Makes-
from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know you've talked to Dr. Jeffrey Bland and Dr. David Perlmutter, who are like giants of functional medicine. They've talked a lot about the gut and how it is central to our biology. And it's not intuitive, right? Because we think the way we think, our spiritual health, our mental health starts up here in our brain. But the reality is what happens in our gut affects our brain very deeply, right? So how do you treat your gut well?
So
What do you do? What are some of the steps?
I know it's crazy to think, but we eat real natural food that are gonna help us and not hurt us. Right now, I mean, come on, let's be honest. Teens, even adults, kids, we're just eating ultra processed foods, Takis, Cheetos, Oreos. The list goes on and on and on. And this is what we have: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And a lot of teens especially, we don't realize what we're doing to ourselves. And so I think that the most simplest way to tell people, adults even, on how we can fix our gut is just to start reading labels. Because if you get something, if you go to the grocery store, and this is what our mom used to do with us. We used to go to the grocery store and she used to say, go pick out this one. You want this? We go to maybe like the cereal aisle and we'd see these colorful cereals and we would be like, please, can we have this? And so our mom was like, okay, first take it out, look at the ingredients and tell me what's in it. And so we went through the ingredients and there was, red number 40. There was like tons and tons of stuff. This is like a 7-year-old me. I cannot even comprehend what these words even mean.
Can't even pronounce them, probably.
Can't even pronounce them. And so our mom basically said, okay, now research, look up those. What do those do to you? What are those ingredients? Okay, red number 40, a carcinogen that leads to cancer. All of tons and tons of these ingredients lead to hyperactivity. They are directly linked to chronic disease. And so we were like, as kids, we don't want to put that in our body.
Yeah.
And so I think what we want to tell people is that if us as kids can do it, so can adults and so definitely can teens.
Yeah, but okay, so say you guys are in school, right? And your friends, they've watched some YouTube influencer talking about their latest food product, right? Like, this happens. My kids are 12 and 9, sorry. And like all the kids at school are eating Beastables or Takis or, they're drinking, what's that drink that, I forgot the name of it. Prime. Yes. He's like, it's for the first time in history, I think kids are getting nutrition advice from influencers that are making food to sell them. Like, how do you tell the other kids they shouldn't be eating that? What do you tell them? Like, this is an influencer saying this,
So I think we should start with like telling them to like what Abdullah said, reading the ingredients.
Yeah.
Because when you can educate them and when you can help them realize that, what these influencers are doing to me, it's for money.
Right.
And when they can realize that it's for money, they don't want to be a part of the money making scheme.
Right.
Right. So they're gonna, a lot of times, like I've told some of my friends, a lot of them felt like a little anger in them. And they kind of want to see some more change. So I think, education is definitely key to bringing that to them.
Yep. I agree. And so that goes down to the E, which is eat real food. So talk about that. Like, what is real food? What does that mean, real food? Is cereal real food?
So real food is just literally the food that comes from trees. It was here on Earth before like humans came and started messing with everything.
Yeah.
And also, real food is nutrient dense.
Yeah.
It's not gonna hurt. It's gonna help you and not hurt you. And that's why we like to say food is power. Food is information. Food literally dictates every single cell and every single like process that goes on in our bodies.
Right.
And it's supposed to we're supposed to be using food, this real food, not talking about, Takis or Cheetos or like that fake food. We don't even call it food.
Right.
But we're supposed to be using this food to thrive, to kind of live the life we want, because that's what food is here for. But sadly now, obviously, we want to eat food because it tastes good. I know I talked to my classmates like, but it tastes so good. Like, come on, why can't I have this?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's destroying our bodies and it's destroying our future.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, people have to understand is that a lot of these real foods are engineered by chemical engineers to taste good. They're not really tasting good. It's a trick to get you to eat more of it, right?
Yeah, it's a chemistry.
It's like a chemistry experiment. We learned.
Experiment, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what you're trying to say.
Yeah,
It is a chemistry experiment. You're right.
Yeah, like they use different methods to get us hooked, like the
Yep.
color, the branding.
Yep.
Like back in the day, like they just put like in the cereal boxes, they just put like really colorful animals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's so good. You should have this.
Right.
And
Like all
ads.
the cereals,
Yeah,
right?
all the
like
cereals.
They have
Like a
different
tiger.
shapes and stuff, right?
Yeah, and also I don't know if you remember. I think, or at least my mom's generation, for cigarettes, they used to have like this, I think, purple Camel.
Yeah.
That used to go around saying, "Oh, you know, it's so cool to smoke. It's so cool to this." And kids like, "Oh my God, we need to have this.
Yeah.
Come on, everyone at school is
Yeah,
doing it."
Camel cigarettes, yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't purple though. That was Barney you're thinking
Oh,
of.
okay. I didn't think it was something else.
But they're both just as destructive, I would argue. Okay. So then the V in revolution is vanquishing toxins. So what are the toxins that we're exposed to and how do we get rid of them?
So toxins are all over around us. The average person is surrounded by more than 80,000 toxins a day. So that is craziness. Going from like a long time ago, barely any toxins around us. Now we're being like trapped by all these toxins. We go to our house, all the foreign furniture is toxins. What we eat has all these toxins in it. So I think toxins, what they are, is that they're things that that don't belong in your body.
Right. That's a good definition for
Yeah.
it. So how are we, what are some of the most common ones that we should be avoiding? Kids. What should kids be avoiding toxin-wise?
Yeah,
So,
so
Go ahead.
yeah, so there's a couple of toxins that you can avoid, like microplastics.
Yeah, talk about plastics.
Yeah, microplastics, again, we use them like in almost everything. The bottles, like the grocery stores, and they just start consuming into our diet.
Yep.
And also the second toxin is EMFs. Coming from like blue light or phones, these EMFs can really damage. Like even putting it next to you when you're sleeping has huge effects.
Do you have a phone?
No,
Got
none
it.
of us really have.
None of you guys have phones. Amazing. Okay.
Except for him.
Yeah,
Except
well, he's
because
in
now I
college
drive,
now.
yeah.
And you drive. You need, at some point, you got to get a phone. But I think your point is well taken. Like, don't sleep with your phone next to you, right? And it's not only are there EMFs, which I think there's still a lot of research that needs to be done exactly what's the mechanism of the problem, but they do know that having the phone next to you when you sleep is very stressful and you have higher levels of cortisol, just even if your phone is off sitting next to you at nighttime. So definitely don't use your phone as your alarm clock or sleep with your phone, right? Okay. And what are some other toxins that you want to, microplastics is a big one, right? What about toxins like in your food, for example? Like where do all these toxins come from in your food?
So yeah, I mean, just all these toxins like red 40, like all these ones that are chemically made. Like if you see a color before the name, like it doesn't belong in your food. Red 40, blue one, yellow one. There's like all these so I can't even memorize all these names because it's just such a big waste of time.
Yeah.
So Qasim like mentioned, it's a chemical experiment and they're putting that in their food. And a lot of times, like I know calcium propionate is something that you put in a lot of like breads and stuff. And now, like cultures, they have especially in the Desi household, like bread is like a staple. And now you're putting things like calcium propionate inside breads.
Yeah.
You're making people even more. You're really killing them for their like favorite foods. So
Yeah. So any type of like chemical name on your packaging, avoid it. Yeah. Are you gonna say something?
There are toxins in your clothes, like polyester clothes,
Yes, that's a good point too. Yeah. So you should have like
cotton clothes.
cotton or wool, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
wool.
like natural fibers, not polyester clothes. But the problem is a lot of the clothes that you can buy at the Target or Walmart or whatever, they do have that. So it's important to read also the labels on your clothes, right?
Yeah.
Make sure they're natural. Good. That's another good example. All right, let's talk about optimizing your stress. So what are you talking about with stress as a kid?
So let's be honest, teens, we have no clue how to manage our stress. And we are actually, I know, there's a study actually that came out that they asked teens on they basically kind of measured how stressed are teens that are in school compared to adults. And actually it said that teens were on a scale of 1 to 10 were at least 5.8, while adults were about like 3.6.
Oh,
And so actually, I mean, that's crazy, but being in high school, being in college, we are not taught how to manage our stress.
no.
And because of that, we're running from class to class. We're just, when this teacher is telling us this or this happening in our lives, or like, especially with this this phone of ours that we have in our hands, this entire universe of information that's just in our pockets. And then this is happening on the news and then that's happening. And then for us, we feel overwhelmed and there's nobody's giving us any information on how to fix it and how to kind of put our bodies back into balance. And and that's why I think for teens, it's so simple, just taking a deep breath. I know, like right before a test, when everyone's trying to cram in all that information into their, like that's the most stressful time. Then just I take a deep breath, and I actually recognize that I do better on the test than if I was just to stress myself out right before. So even just deep breathing, which is one of our favorite things to do, just being mindful, thinking, okay, what am I smelling in this moment? What am I thinking? What am I seeing? What am I feeling? There's so many easy, simple ways to ground yourself. And as teens, if we're able to use that, we can really, I think, unlock our true potential. We can really change our lives. Because imagine if teens were able to control their brain and they were able to, deal with their anxiety, deal with their depression, deal with their stress, we could achieve so much.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned breath work, which I think is really powerful. How many times a day do you do breath work?
So what our mom taught us, she used to teach us deep breathing when we weren't stressed, so that when we were stressed, that we already knew what to do.
Yeah, you automatically can just go right back to it. Right, exactly. Yep. Do you guys do deep breathing?
Yeah. In the beginning, like at school, we there's like an announcements. We do deep breathing. So, the whole school does deep breathing in the
Oh, that is amazing. Like
in
all
the beginning
together?
of school. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, also there's different types of deep breathing. Like you don't need to do just in for like 4 seconds, out for 8, and then in for 7. Like you don't need to do it. Like there's sometimes like box breathing, like tiger breathing, and you can really just experiment it with it.
Yeah, lots of different breathwork type of exercises. 4, 7, 8 breathing you mentioned. There's box breathing. There's like tiger breathing actually increases your intention as well. So yeah, I think kids learning this early in age. I wish someone had taught me that when I was a kid. Like I learned it when I was 40 years old. Finally. Okay, what about loving nature? How do we do that, and why is that important?
So loving nature is important because you love nature. Spending time in nature actually improves spiritual, mental, physical, and social health.
Yeah. I mean, we were put here on the earth for nature, right? And all throughout the centuries that we've been living here on earth, we've been in nature most of the time, right? Outside, either like recently your guys' generation, like playing outside most of the time. Like I know, like someone we interviewed said that like back in their days, like, when they were grounded, they weren't allowed to go to nature. But now, grounding us, we're not allowed to go on our phones. We're not allowed to be in a room. We have to go play out nature. So now we're seeing this like extreme shift between generations, and especially our generation is like one of the first generations to deal with this, like just inside on screens the entire time. So now we're seeing the effects of like increased stress, depression. Teens are arising because nature was always there. Like even when we try to walk outside, you can hear everything. You can hear the birds. You can smell like all the amazing flowers. It's very like before stress relieving. So when we love nature, we can really get into being back into nature like our ancestors did.
Yeah.
And plus, nature has actually been scientifically proven to increase our mood, to increase even our, our increased cortisol, decrease, and it also helps our body. Yeah,
Serotonin.
so, but it helps us so much. And the thing is, that as teens, like now I know we're like, oh, but I don't want to go into nature. Like, oh, that's so boring. Like, we just want to stay on our phones and do what we want to do. Yeah, there's so much benefits, and definitely, like Zain said, we're feeling it in our high schools. I know that, like, when we go outside, we are able to fully connect with, even the nature that's around us. Our mom likes to call it hugging trees.
Yeah.
Even 30 minutes a day has been shown to have so many benefits
Absolutely.
for anybody.
Right.
Yeah, like even just being in nature can help.
Yeah.
Like you can still like play, have fun, and you still get those benefits from being nature. Like you don't need to sadly walk in nature. Like you can still do that yourself.
Yeah, you can go outside and play. Yeah. I mean, you're right. Like people don't do that anymore. When I was a kid, the first thing you do when you wake up on a Sunday morning is you go out and play. And now it's like kids just hop on their electronic devices, right? On their iPads or their phones, and they don't get out in nature as much. So it's important to bring that back, right?
Definitely.
That brings us to uniting with others. Uniting with others. What does this mean?
So uniting with others means like actually like being social, because now teens are being less social every like day and maybe day, because like we're just on our devices contacting on like social media instead of going person to person talking, and this really gets rid of the connection between each other.
Right, absolutely. And so a lot of what you're talking about outside of diet is really exposure to devices, right? That seems like a common unifying theme amongst all of the different pieces of the device you have. And then T being tech limits, which is the next letter in the revolution word. And this is something I think could probably solve a lot of these problems, right? Mm-hmm. So what is an appropriate technology limit for a teenager or a kid?
Yeah, so we like to say like maybe like no social media before 16, high school, so we can really like we can start playing before.
And there's some countries that have now outlawed social media for teenagers. So I think Australia just did that, right?
Yeah.
And there's a reason, because we have become engagement machines for their profits.
Yeah.
Like dopamine is what makes us feel, it's what makes us happy, like when someone gives us like positive attention. Oxytocin is when like it's what we want to bond with others. Mm-hmm. And now we have our phones and we can press a button and get that dopamine, oxytocin artificially 24/7. And with drugs too, increasing your dopamine randomly, it's just making it worse. So you can see like a very similarities with like fake food, ultra processed foods, these artificial devices and drugs that we can all link it to. So yeah, I think spending less time on social media, only being on social media with a purpose.
Yeah, agreed. And then when you say tech limits, so I have a 12-year-old, okay? Mm-hmm. And so we are always discussing with him what is an appropriate amount of technology per day. What do you think in your research and from what you have spoken about is the right number of hours per day?
We would like to say like an hour.
Yeah.
I think that's like the perfect point. 45 minutes probably is better. Mm-hmm. But for kids especially, and for any parents that are listening to this, we found a lot of like parents complaining, oh, they go on 5 hours, 6 hours. Like I know people at Emaad school, right? They're like bragging, right? Emaad, gonna say?
Yeah, like they're just like when I was going and they're like, oh yeah, last night I had I was on the device for like 7 hours, and I was like, what? And the other person was like, no, I was on 8.
Oh,
and I was like, oh my God.
They're competing the number of hours on their device. That's terrible. It should be the opposite, right? Yeah. They should be like, I was only on for 30 minutes.
And so we want kids, especially that are dealing with, because we're basically addicted. Yeah. That's what this is.
It's
That's
an addiction, right?
And so a lot of kids, they can't go throughout their day if they don't get 2 or 4 hours of screen time. Yeah. And so for those kids, and for those parents that are struggling with that with their kids, because we know it's difficult, it's challenging, because these are also our peers and classmates that we see are dealing with the effects of this increased screen time. Mm-hmm. We tell them at least try to decrease it. So then maybe the first time, if you do 3 hours or 4 hours, try doing 3 hours then for that month. then to 2, then to 1. That way that we can build those habits so that we can and then build a successful future for ourselves as well.
But how did you guys do it when you're in school and your school requires you to have like a laptop or use some sort of device? How do you separate screen time for school purposes versus screen time for other things?
Yeah, so like because we like to say like it's more like screen time was video game time or like
Yeah.
sometimes, and then more like the working at school we like to have blue light glasses so it doesn't really affect as much. And then really it's just we're doing that for a purpose to learn.
Yeah.
So it's just like different.
Got it. Go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say like just separating that though the different times. I mean, like I have to whenever I'm working because I'm in high school now.
Yeah.
So like and especially nowadays we spend a lot of time on the computers.
Right.
So things that you can do to like limit it, like the effect of it is like putting on blue light glasses and stuff. That can like decrease the blue light and like having EMF protectors lowering the EMF on yourself.
Yeah. And so blue light protection helps you get better sleep at night.
Yeah.
Yep. And that brings you to the next letter I, invest in sleep. How much sleep do kids need?
8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
8 to 10
hours.
is more for teens. I think for kids, like more
10 to 12.
10 to 12, in fact. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think it's you need a lot more sleep as a kid, but then, you have to wake up really early for school, right? And so how do you get enough sleep in?
So I know it's crazy, but we try to go to sleep by like 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
9
I
or
don't
10
think that's
o'clock.
crazy.
For our teens,
Yeah.
because I know teens, we have like the worst sleep schedule like imaginable. I remember I was at school once and there was one of my friends, he was like, oh my God, I went to sleep so late yesterday. Like, what time did you go to sleep? It's like 2 o'clock. What were you doing? I was on my phone, It's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. Just scrolling. And I was like, okay, so maybe if you didn't scroll and you went to sleep earlier, you wouldn't be as tired now.
Right.
And it's just so simple. And us teens, we need to start taking initiative and start, focusing on our sleep. Because if we get good sleep, we can do better in school. We can do better in our classes, in athletics. We can do better with our memory. Because actually, if you get good sleep, it improves your memory. It improves your ability to learn. And it really just improves your life. For now, I can't go back to anything less than like 8 hours at least.
Yeah, absolutely. So, once again, the phone brings up another negative, which is it affects your sleep. Why? Because it's the light from the phone, but it's also just the amount of stress it causes, the amount of your scrolling and the addiction. All of it together works together to create a very poor sleep experience night after night after night, and that builds up over time. So, I think with that being the common denominator, hopefully more and more parents realize that the time to get your child a phone is much later in life than they're getting it right now. Like you said in your class, you have a kid 10 years old that has phones, right?
Yeah, and younger too. Like there's first graders that have phones.
Right. So it's not a reward. It's not a great gift. It's not it's a major experiment that you're doing with your own kid's brain and their biology. And it's an experiment that I think that, there's much more chance of it failing rather than it being a positive. Would you agree with that?
Yes. And at the end of the day, what my mom said to me when I got my first phone, she said, and I've still carry this to this day, she said, when you go on your phone, always go with a purpose. And so now if I'm about to go on my phone to go on, if I feel like going on YouTube or do whatever, I'm always thinking, is there a purpose to this?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? And because of that, I'm able to fully take in charge and not let this phone control me.
Yes. And I think, right now parents are a little bit of a disadvantage because the phone has only been around for about 20 years and the way it is right now with the apps and the screen and all that. So it hasn't been a long time that this has been around. And obviously we know the dangers of social media now have been proven, but also the dangers of just the phone itself. I think there's a lot more research and science that needs to happen, but I would say you shouldn't wait for that to come out. I mean, it's very obvious what it does to kids. Their brains are just not meant to have these devices that exposes them to the internet 24/7 and never mind all the other negative qualities of it. So hopefully the real solution is to not have the phone.
Or at least have a balance.
Yeah.
Because obviously look, we're not going to be like extreme. We have to be realistic here. Everything is on the internet. Everything has to do with technology.
Sure.
So we have to make sure we have a balance, especially for people my age, for people above 16, and even adults.
Yeah, but isn't it unrealistic to try to expect kids to have a balance? Because I find a hard time having balance myself as an adult, right? And so for kids with brains that are still just developing, it's a lot easier to get addicted. It's a lot easier to get addicted to those dopamine rushes, right? All those things. And so it's hard to find a balance as a kid, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why we say for phones, especially don't give them to kids before 16.
Yeah.
Because that's when our brains are still developing, and that's when we need to go out and play, like Emaad said as well.
Yeah. Are a lot of your friends gamers? Yeah. Yeah.
You know, a lot of
think
gamers.
Yeah, I mean, there are many more kids that are gamers and not gamers anymore. And we're talking like games on the computer, right? And so, yeah, like Roblox is massive right now. Minecraft. I think. What do you think about gaming and how that kind of takes over your brain?
So definitely kids are gaming more than I think almost ever before.
Yeah.
The problem is that we've definitely become a lot more addicted to these games.
Yeah.
And we think, oh, I'm just having fun, I'm just doing this. When in reality, it is destroying our brain function. It's decreasing it's increasing stress levels in us. It's basically making it harder for us to function as proper human beings. And that's because, we game here and there, at least maybe sometimes we'll go in Minecraft obviously,
Yeah.
But when it comes to the fact that you need to game, where you're gaming hours upon hours, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I fully agree. All right, let's talk about the next letter, which is O, open to gratitude and purpose. So we're getting deep now. Tell us a little bit about gratitude and purpose.
So gratitude. So let's just first start with gratitude.
Yeah.
So teens, like Abdul mentioned, are some of the most negative people ever, and especially because I hate my life, I hate this, I hate school. It's always I hate. And then we also have to bring the fact that we're always surrounded by negativity. The news, social media, people always telling us what we're doing wrong. It's just constant negativity in us, and it can be very overwhelming. So when we're saying gratitude, we're saying, you know what, stop saying I hate. Start thinking about what do you love? What are you thankful for? It could be either as simple as I'm thankful for my belly button. That's what we used to say a lot. So yeah, we like to say 10 things that we're grateful for every morning. And especially that was what we had to tell ourselves a long time ago. Now we are just constantly thinking, you know what? I am so thankful that we're here. I am so thankful that we can be on your podcast.
Yeah. And also, I think you're probably grateful because now you have a sense of purpose too, spreading this information, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for kids, find a sense of purpose. Find something that really you're doing something good for the world and you're doing something good for yourself and your family. And that could be something to be really grateful for.
Yeah. And purpose is a very, very strong one. Purpose is a really strong word. You're saying purpose to a bunch of teens. Now they're freaking out, right? Because they're I don't want to talk about my future. So, but I think finding your purpose just starts with being bored. And I'm saying this, and maybe if there's a teen watching, they're gonna crash out because teens hate being bored.
What does crash out mean?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, that's
You're using
already
teen terminology now.
That's just they're gonna get really
they don't get uncomfortable talking about them.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, don't be sorry. So I don't even I don't know all the words. So okay, they're gonna crash out because you're talking about purpose, and you're saying start by being bored.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so teens hate being bored. If I say you need to be bored, they're gonna be yeah, but how do I be bored? What do I do? And that's the point. You're supposed to be alone with your thoughts intentionally, because all of these crazy scientific experiments, or if it's not science, if it's these enlightenments, they all come from being bored. Because when you're bored, you can truly think about who you want to become in the future and who you are now. So being bored is just a really good way to start finding your purpose. And the thing is that a lot of teens today, they're freaking out because they're constantly on their screens. They are not finding that purpose because they are not bored.
And plus, I know for like my friends, I noticed because I used to also not have a phone when all my friends had a phone. And so I remember we were sitting together, and then they couldn't take 2 to 3 minutes of silence. They had to pick up their phone and do something. And we're all just sitting together, and everyone's just on their phone. Instead of talking, they're just scrolling. And that is just going to continue to destroy our brains and our lives, because how are we ever going to find what we are meant to do if we're always pacifying ourselves and self-medicating ourselves with, again, technology in our phones?
Yep, exactly. Fully see that happening a lot, that kids just don't spend time looking out the window anymore, just sitting there thinking about things, because there is a very easy out, because it is uncomfortable sometimes to be alone with your thoughts. And so I think that's something that you develop a comfort for as a teenager. And there's a lot of thoughts going on in a teenager's head that need some space to air themselves and have you focus on them and think about these things that are happening in your life, and the devices don't create the space for that.
On Wednesdays, for gratitude, Wednesdays at school, every morning we also do gratitude journals.
Oh, your school is amazing. Is this a public school?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hopefully there's some teachers listening to this. So you do like breath work every morning, and Wednesday you do gratitude journals.
Yeah, every week. Like tomorrow I'm going to do a gratitude journal, and then our teacher puts down a prompt, and then we have to write about what we're thankful for about that prompt.
So cool. I love it. Yeah, and parents can do this. We have these gratitude journals for our kids. They're called the 5-minute journal. You can get this on Amazon, and they have a kids version where there's a prompt, and you can do it every night and write down every morning or night, write down like what you're grateful for. Okay, and last, this talks a lot about creating mental space, which is navigate decisions with mindfulness. Talk to us about that.
So mindfulness means being fully present in the world where you're around what you know around you. Like you can hear the birds squeaking, or you can know what you're eating in. So like knowing what you're doing around you, because now teens are just on their phone, not knowing what they're getting surrounded by. They're just like mindlessly in the device.
Yeah.
And that's what mindfulness is. It's knowing what's happening around you, know what's happening inside of you, knowing, okay, what am I watching? Why am I watching this?
Yeah.
Knowing, why am I putting this in my body? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why am I taking these steps to go to this place? Just being fully present in that moment. And if we're able to do that, that's where real change happens.
Yeah.
Because then we know, okay, why am I even doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why? And when we're able to understand the why, that's where we can really change the direction of our lives.
Yes.
Good point. Yeah. So being mindfulness, you can easily be mindful. Just like I talked about being bored, being alone with your thoughts and thinking about your future, but specifically thinking about your present, being with yourself alone and thinking about your present, hearing, seeing, smelling, all your 5 senses. So
yeah, it's so incredibly important. And so you've written this book. You have this incredible framework. How long have you been doing, like the older boys? When did you start this journey?
So I mentioned about the pandemic, so that was like 2020, but it actually started way before. Like we were like really young and we were still learning about all this.
Because your mom's a functional medicine doctor, right?
Oh yeah, but she wasn't always. So we had to we were also learning with her. And like, especially when we were dealing with our own issues, we were dealing with our own chronic issues, like mood. I had like severe like mood disorders and eczema, and yeah, everyone else had their own issues. So we were learning together for this, and then that's why we really started to come to this, like that we really wanted to help other kids.
Yeah, because you fixed yourself, right? You fixed your mood disorders, your eczema, all of this, and you're like, oh, this works, right? I love it. What was that?
It actually does work. Like, once we figure out ourselves, we didn't want anybody else to experience themselves. So then we had a podcast. We started just giving out the message to people. Then we wrote a book to make it easier to put all that information in one.
Amazing. Yes. And I love the book because at the end, you also have, like, if you do have some sort of chronic condition, you have like advice about that condition and what you can do, right? Whether it's skin disorders or metabolic health issues. So you kind of go over that too in a very kid-friendly fashion. So parents and kids can both read this book together. And there's recipes, healthy recipes for families to enjoy together.
We've been doing this for 10 years.
10 years. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's your whole
So like his entire life.
Yeah, exactly. Since you were born. You're living it. I love it. That's amazing. I'm so grateful that you guys wrote this book. And I think a lot of kids can benefit from this message because there are relatively simple things that kids can do because, your biology right now is very resilient. Like you can fix your biology very quickly as a child, but it gets harder to fix as you become an adult. So it's so important to have these habits and routines and thoughts in place from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why when we made this book, we were targeting kids and teens. But we talked to a lot of adults and they're like, wow, this is a simple health book.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I need in my life too. Because all these other textbooks, all these other health books, they're so long, they're so factual. They're like nobody's going to read all that. And so we wanted to do the simple, practical, easy things that anybody can do to change your life. Because as a teen, especially because when I was 7 years old, I remember, dealing with multiple different things as well. And nobody ever taught me that I could be able to change and get rid of all these diseases just by simple things like going out into nature, just by simple things as getting the sleep I needed, just by eating more natural foods, changing our diet. As teens, we're told, if you have a problem, just take this pill.
Yeah.
Or you do this, or you do that. The problem is that we're not taught this, and it could benefit and change so many people's lives if we had this information. Because, we went through the entire book in all the chapters. I'm pretty sure nature, sleep, stress management, even technology, mindfulness, gratitude. These are all basically free things to do.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's
Doesn't
not
cost
that
anything to do this
complicated.
thing. Right. Actually, you save money if you don't have to buy a phone and Beastables and all these ultra processed foods and things, right? Yeah, it's so true. And it's fantastic advice. And I really applaud you guys for doing this and spreading the message. Great work, you guys.
Well, thank you so much. It's really our pleasure.
So the book is called The Teen Health Revolution. It's already out, right? And then
Yes.
you have a podcast called The Holistic Kids Show that anyone can listen to and have your kids listen to it. It's a
definitely check that out.
Great listen, right? You've interviewed some incredible guests on that show. Thank you. I was on the show too. I think a lot of great information by kids for kids. So thank you.
Yes. It's really our pleasure. And it's really our honor to be here today. So thank you so much
Yes.
for inviting us.
Thank you for joining me. Congratulations, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.